Okay, guys, I'm back and I am gonna reshare here. Okay, guys, I'm back and I am gonna. Hey, thank you for streaming this on Twitch, guys. I appreciate that very much. We'll get it all worked out for next week, but appreciate the help from the room. You guys are awesome and super excited to be here with you. Um, we have a limitation in the room on how many people. So if you go to Twitch, we've got a couple of folks here who are live streaming it on Twitch or YouTube. Here you go. And so we appreciate that. Thank you guys for helping out. Hey, just a couple of rules, guys. Again, I trade for myself. You're going to watch me trade. I am not a financial advisor. I'm not a stockbroker. I did work for Merrill Lynch way, way back in the day, probably before many of you were born. But you make your trades at your own discretion. Please don't. I'm just a data point. I'm going to share what I can with you. We happen to have a model that's going 14 to 14. We're hoping to get 15. So here's the deal, which I'm kind of excited about. Um, Last night, I told you guys I wasn't going to trade because I was working and everything was so crazy at work, and it was. But my phone kept going off because I had set alerts, and so I did jump in and I bought five S&P calls. I didn't get them as good as Sal, one of our members here who's watching all this, but I got it in at 30. What did I get in at? I bought a 32. I don't remember anyway, I got it at 59 cents. So market's traded at 432.55. We're bouncing off of a support. We're about to open the market, but I'm going to pull this up and we are going to lock in our 15th consecutive winning trade. And you guys can see it right here. Right when the market closed, I was down about 10 bucks, but the model indicated that we've got a lot of resistance or support below us. So we were going to get a bounce. So there you go. We're up 300 bucks on this particular trade right now. Let's just take a look at what the market is doing. Okay, guys, we just took a profit on that trade, so we are 15 to 15. Let's see what we ended up making on that thing in all. Okay, guys, we got out of that. We got out of that trade. So I bought yesterday. We got in at 59 cents, okay, and we sold that at. No, you guys didn't see the trade when I got in, and unfortunately, when I unshared my screen, I forgot to reshare it with you. But we ended up getting out. Looking it up right now. Got out at 108. So we bought in at 59. We got out at 108. It was only 5 contracts. That's almost a 100% return on that contract. That's kind of fun. Anyway, we'll continue to watch the market right now. So we have a major resistance level right here, and it bounced off it earlier in the evening. I expect it to do the same thing. So I am actually going to set up a trade right now so that we're ready to go. So I'm looking at puts on this, and I'm going to look at the 433s trading at 88 cents. I like that. I like the 433s, and I'm going to put in 15. I'm just going to get it ready. Not necessarily going to execute that. Then we'll go back over here and we'll watch and see how we hold up. Should bounce right off that. I need to get confirmed on a number of other indicators first. Sorry, guys, I'm going to be real quiet while we're trading. I'm just talking to myself, the inner voice that's telling me how crazy I am. See if we can get a retest there. That was a nice bounce. We could have been in and out of on that pivot. So I've got a couple of indicators on my model that are not confirming that resistance will hold. It may hold, but I'm just saying that, I try to do high probability trades based on my model. And right now, there's a couple of things that are telling me that that may not hold. What I mean by that is it might blow through that resistance. It might retest it and then trade through it. And again, I don't have confirmation it's going to go through, and I don't have enough confirmation that it's going to hold and drop off of that like it just did a second ago. So I will not be trading that right now until I get additional indicators. Here is my what we're waiting for that, although it's very close. Let's keep an eye on this for a second. So in my model, if I were to make this trade, I would buy a put at or near that resistance. And then if it breaks through that resistance, I would get out and manage my loss so that I wouldn't have I've got a pretty easy stop there. I can get out and really not risk too much. But the downside's pretty strong. I'd like to I think we might be able to pick up on that particular trade 70 cents, and if we're buying at 80, so the option might get us 25, 30 cents. That could be a 25% return on that trade if it that resistance level or that pivot holds and it drops. I'll be looking for about a 20%, maybe a little better than 20% return on that trade. Unfortunately, we just don't have enough confirmation on these other indicators that I'm tracking and this little model that I've written up. It's not a high probability trade yet. Guys, I'm not looking at the Discord, so I don't know if you're what you're chatting. Hopefully, you guys can communicate to each other. I'll do my best to just tell you what I'm looking at. Here's our things move fast, but here's our out. So we had the S&P 500 trade. We made $200 on that trade. Here it is right here. We sold it at 108, 5 contracts. Our price was 59 cents. So we bought it for like 260, I guess. Is that 260, 270? And then made $200. So yeah, about 100, roughly close to 100%. I know you guys can do the math. All right, so this is going to be interesting to see what happens here. So I kind of like this. I just need confirmation that this is going to hold. And right now, I just don't have it. So this would be not a trade that I would make. Matter of fact, right now the model says that it won't hold. Right now my model is telling me that it will go through. That doesn't mean it will. It just support levels and resistance levels and these pivot points tend to be pretty strong, even trading against my model, but we'll see what happens here in a second. Been testing it even in the overnight. You can see it tested it 1, 2, 3, multiple times. I'm gonna come back up here. See what that option's at right now. Option's at 92 cents. So again, I've loaded up just for you. If you guys can't see, I've loaded up a July 9th, 433 put. I'm looking at 15 contracts at, right now it's at 89 cents, 88 cents as the market's going up. We wanted to hit that pivot and then get some confirmation of a reversal. And then we should get a nice little return on that. And it's right there. It's holding right at that pivot line. Quick look. We've got this really tight trading band where we are right now, which kind of limits some of the volatility that we like to see with options. Potentially increasing our risk on this trade just a little bit more, which sounds counterintuitive, but greater volatility tends to work in our favor on options. When we don't get a lot of volatility, they tend to work against us. Some bullish indicators here. Somebody once told me the best trade decision that you can make sometimes is a trade you don't make. I kind of feel like that is something that when I look back and see some of the missed opportunities, I remind myself that I also missed some big losses too by not pulling the trigger when the probability wasn't there. One of the hard things is when we watch these charts like this and we see a run up like we just had and it breaks through that resistance. So now that resistance suddenly becomes support, right? So we want to see if it bounces off of that and it becomes a support level, that would be an indication that we might want to reverse this and go to a call. Once you break through major resistance and support pivot lines, you want to think differently about them, right? So this now is going to become a support level potentially, but I'd like to see it tested a couple of times. All the other indications right now look a little bit bullish. Things can turn very, very quickly, and that was a nice little run up. When you get big spikes like that, sometimes you get retrenchment, and I typically look for about a 30% retrenchment. So I'll measure, just so you guys see, I'll measure how fast did this thing move up. You want it to move quick. And then I'll look at, so this is, if I click on that line I just drew, let me do it over here for you. I do this to, let's say there. I'll measure this. So 432.58 on the low, 433.38 on the high. And then what I'll do is I'll look, okay, what's my retrenchment? My retrenchment would be 30% of this. So I would expect it to come down almost right to where that new support line was previously resistance, where that new support pivot line is, and then bounce. And if it does that, we've got a pretty good additional bullish indicator. That's a general rule that you guys can apply on any rapid move that you see in a stock. Typically, you're going to see this, it's almost like physics. You have this recoil effect, and generally, it's about a 30%. And that's just kind of a rule of thumb, about 30% retrenchment. So if you were going to do like an auto trade or set up like a snap trade, you would maybe go like 29% or something like that. And my point on that is you'll get that retrenchment and then you'll get a bounce back in the direction of wherever that momentum was. Let's see. Take a look at our put that we had set up. I like to check this all the time. I don't want it to get too low. It gets hard when the market moves in our direction. When the options are too low or they're too far out of the money, basically, you don't get the same kind of return that you would if it was closer to the money. Even though the market's moving in your direction, your option may not move as much because you're so far out of the money. That's why I tend to trade at or near the money, at or near expiration. Get all those broker, really the kind of the arbitrage variables. You sort of minimize it and you get a more efficient trade. True pricing. Guys, I have no idea what I'm talking about is helpful to anybody. I'm just chattering here as I'm watching the market. So some of you might be thinking, is this an opportunity to buy long on a call? Possibly, but I wouldn't touch it right now. That's not something. Again, I'm trying to have some discipline in the way that I trade. That doesn't mean that I miss trades all the time that are positive trades, but I try to rely on my model for consistency. And again, it's that ride or die. If the model is, when I do trade with the model, if I'm right now, 15 out of 15 times, then I'm going to stay with it. With the minute I start to overthink it or try to be smarter than the model, that's when I always get myself into trouble. And I'll bet that most of you who are on this who have traded before are probably shaking your heads going, yeah, that's me. You think you're smarter than the market, or you see something, get emotional, holy moly, fear of missing out, the FOMO, right? The market just ran up. Oh God, I can still get in. The moment you get in, the market turns on you. How many of you had that experience? And it feels very personal, doesn't it? It feels like the universe just kind of had it out for you that day. So if we stay disciplined and we're okay if we miss opportunities, then I'm all about it. As long as I'm making high probability trades, if I can do, my goal is somewhere between 7 to 15% a day. So I'm play small ball, just want to hit single after single after single and just go to work with a smile on my face, whistling and feeling good about things, rather than going through those big emotional swings where you get some really big wins and then you get some devastating losses. And by the way, I've been there. I've done that. That's happened to me. And I remember when I was trading, there was a streak when I was in my probably late 20s. And I mean, I took some hits in the market, some really big hits in the market, just being a little bit undisciplined and maybe a bit overzealous. Um, time and experience have galvanized my need to be a little bit more disciplined. And so that's where I am today. High probability trades. I just want wins. I don't like losses. And if I miss out on some opportunities, there's always another opportunity. Just wait for it. So, and that could be boring. Some of you maybe are much more risk tolerant and, you want to swing, you want to hit doubles and triples. I'm not the guy you want to watch for sure. There's all kinds of people that promise that and can show you things that, maybe get you there. What I'm going to do is get you an average of 7 to 15% per day on your trades. And once in a while, we had a 200% trade this week, and we had, roughly a little less than about a 90% trade from last night to this morning that I just got out of. And obviously, if I'd held it, we would have had a better return. But I got out. I took my profit. 90% was good enough for me. Sal, hopefully you still held. I don't know if you got out, but hopefully you still held. He's got bought some of the same contracts. He got in earlier. He got 429s. I bought much later, 432s. You probably paid a little bit more for yours, I'm guessing. So I'm seeing a little market fatigue right now, and my model is starting to turn a little bit bearish, which would support our put. We have some work to do before we'll actually, pull the trigger on something like that. But a handful of just kind of the general indicators are moving in our direction, are moving in a bearish direction, and the velocity of the move here is slowing down, which could be an indication of a reversal pending. But again, I don't have enough verification of that at this point. Market's just going to do what it's going to do, and We'll look for a high probability trade and we'll get in when we can. Um, by the way, I'll do this until about 7:30 and then I will log out. I usually will check back in around 10 o'clock. I happen to like the 10 to 11 hour. I think there's a lot of some of the craziness of the mornings out of the way, and the technical setups look really, really good at that time. But if there's no volatility, swings, I'd like to see, 50-cent dollar moves. If we don't see that, then I won't make the trade. If we don't have good volatility, I won't make the trade just because the market the value of our option will diminish because the market isn't moving. And as it gets closer and closer to expiration, it's getting closer and closer to a zero value. So we need volatility for it to be successful. But I like that 10 o'clock hour. You guys should keep an eye on that. And as you start to build your models and start to think about what you want to follow, that 10 to 11 o'clock tends to be a fairly predictable time frame for technical trading. It's not perfect, of course. You got to overlay your model on top of it, but they tend to work pretty well. I like that hour quite a bit. So I'll do this until 7:30. The first 15 minutes is always kind of the wacky part of the market. Everyone's like, "Hey, the bell rang!" Everyone goes crazy. I don't know what the hell people are thinking. But after that craziness gets out of the way, you start to identify the trends and some of the indicators that we can follow become a bit more let's just say stabilized, or predictable, or the trends kind of follow through rather than bounce around. So if you have an indicator that's maybe moving up, it will tend to move up during the day. It's more likely to move up during the day, I should say. But in the morning, it's going to bounce. It's going to go up, down, and you're just rolling dice. I think if you're trying to bet on that first early morning volatility. Some of you may trade that way. Some of you may like that, and that's what you want to do. And I'm not judging anybody, by the way. I'm just one guy. I am one data point. There's probably a gazillion guys trading better than me. I just know what I do, and I like what I do, and we happen to be on a streak, and hopefully that's something that you guys can benefit from. And if you like it, great. And if you don't, that's okay too. So while we're just sitting in this holding pattern, while you guys are talking, chatting, I don't know, you're probably chatting. I can't read your text, but I told you I made my first trade when I was 13 years old. So my great grandmother, we're Italian heritage. So my great grandparents were first generation to land in the United States. And my great grandfather, his first job was pushing a wheelbarrow up and down the streets of San Francisco after the earthquake, the big earthquake that happened in the early part of the 1900s. And that was how he ended up coming over here. Some rapid immigration. They needed laborers basically to help clean up San Francisco. Anyway, he worked as a busboy, then brought his wife over from Italy. But during the course of his life, he bought some stocks, and he bought AT&T, and he bought a stock called PG&E. Maybe some of you are familiar with. It's a utility for Northern California. And when he died, when my great grandmother passed away, I was 13 years old, and I inherited 100 shares of PG&E stock. And it was trading at about $11 a share back then. And I think that's what it's. I haven't checked it in a long time, but I know after the big fires and stuff, they had a huge lawsuit, and it dropped from like $50 down to like $8. So I don't know what it's at now. But anyway, I sold that PG&E stock. My dad took me over to Charles Schwab, opened up an account, deposited those shares into a Charles Schwab account. And back in the day, we didn't have any of this, of course. It was all like telebroker. You had to call to make your trades. And so I called in, sold my PG&E, and I bought a stock. The very first stock I ever bought was called Worlds of Wonder, WOW. And they made, I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember, they made the Teddy Ruxpin dolls, and I think they might even still be around. And they were the first company to come out with laser tag, like at home, like you put on a helmet, you put on a little vest, and have a laser gun. You can run around, shoot each other, and play laser tag. Anyway, I loved the company, loved the concept. I was a young kid, loved the products. So I bought Worlds of Wonder, and I think I got it for about $8-9 a share as well. And I ended up buying a full lot, so 100 shares. and it ran up to $33. And I just thought, 13 years old, you can imagine, I thought, man, I know the market. I've got this thing. I've got a system, right? I'm just going to buy all the products that I like. Anyway, Worlds of Wonder, the Teddy Ruxpin doll started breaking. It had all kinds of recalls. People were getting shot playing laser tag because cops thought they were real guns. So it got a lot of bad press. And Worlds of Wonder went from $33 down to like a few pennies and went bankrupt. And I never sold the stock. And I couldn't understand. I just always felt like, no, it's going to come back. I love the products. And I was so emotional about it. And took my first real lumps in the market when I was 13 years old. But I was hooked. That was it. I was done. I had to be a part of it. And then I started. I got a couple paper routes, made some money, put it all in the market, and started trading. And had a great time doing it. It's a lot of fun. That's my entree into the market. So anyway, we're seeing a nice pattern moving up. Again, I'm not in this trade. I don't see a lot of, again, velocity here, and I see some fatigue in the market. So we might get a little baselining pretty soon. Uh, Baselining is that's a fun place to pay attention to. So the market doesn't move very much for several candlesticks. You tend to see again another like a recoil effect up or down, depending on what your indicators are telling you. I like that quite a bit. I like to see like 4 or 5 candlesticks that don't move, and then all of a sudden you start to see a move in a one direction. They tend to be pretty strong moves. And guys, sometimes we miss opportunities because it just doesn't make sense to be in. And like right now, based on the indicators that I have right now, that doesn't mean the market won't continue to move up. The indicators that I have right now, we'd be paying a premium entering the market right now. And I think it just increases our risk. Well, I know that it increases our risk. So I would not be trading this, even though the market continues to move up. But be looking for support now, right? So potentially a retest of that support level. And if it bounces off, that's a real nice base for us for the day. That's what I would be looking for. Maybe a retest of that. Looks like right around 430. What is that? 433.25. Sorry, 432.98. You guys, I was trying to set this up for this morning. I was bouncing around between Zoom and Discord, and we were trying to figure. We even looked at Twitch, trying to figure the whole thing out, which one would be best for us. 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm on the West Coast. 2 o'clock in the morning. I try to log into Ameritrade, and Ameritrade's down. It says fill out an application if you want to open an account. Like I had no positions, I had no balances. The whole thing was down. Man, I was freaking out. I'm thinking, oh gosh, first day we go live in Ameritrade, the whole system is down. They got it up, and I think it was about an hour and a half. But I was panicking. It was pretty horrible trying to get this up and running for you guys today. And I don't know if you guys saw. If you guys saw what Wells Fargo just did, Wells Fargo shuts all the personal lines of credit. That's a big story in the finance sector. Uh, just moving on to other products like credit cards and things like that. I read the article, but it's a huge deal. I had an entrepreneur as well, owned companies in the past, and um, I remember during the financial crisis that hit in 2008, 2009. Um, we had a $75,000, I think it was 75,000, maybe it was 100, I don't remember. We had a line of credit from Citibank that we used to do our payroll, and overnight they froze when the kind of the financial crisis happened. Everyone tightened up the credit, and we got a letter from Citibank. Well, we actually found out about it beforehand, but then we got a letter from them, and they said that they have frozen our line of credit and that it wasn't going to be available anymore, and that they wanted to term it out. So we have to make regular payments to term it out. Well, we used it as a cash flow tool to cover payroll. So we would borrow money from our line of credit, make our payroll, and we would collect the receivables from our customers who had bought from us, and then pay back our line of credit with the receivables. But all of a sudden, I had this line of credit that had about, I don't know, $60,000 that was out on it, and suddenly it was no longer available to me. And it put such a cash squeeze. I think about what Wells Fargo just did and how many customers are going to be devastated by that news. People who use those lines of credit to help with their business, to help personally, maybe on their HELOCs or home construction loans, or whatever they're doing. I mean, that could have some pretty powerful consequences to their credit. It's kind of a horrible thing, but I guess Wells Fargo can do what they want to do, and customers can do what they want to do. Anyway, I don't know why I shared that story. I just saw the trending now news. I was trying to see what was moving the market this morning. Doesn't appear to be anything too significant. There's wholesale inventories, preliminary wholesale inventories were released today. Doesn't seem to be enough to move it, which is a good thing. We like it when there's no breaking news. Again, we talk about risk elements. News is a risk element, right? It doesn't matter what your model is doing. Breaking news comes in, and your whole model can be just shot to heck. So I like it when it's a slow news day. The technical models tend to work better. Are you guys all bored watching this? Although you probably do this on your own anyway. Listen to some music and watch the market. I was telling you about that recoil effect, that 30% retrenchment tends to only happen when you have steep inclines, right? So when the market moves quickly in one direction, whether it's up or down, you'll get a little bit of a retrenchment, that 30%. If it happens very, very quickly, like 1 to 2 candlesticks, you'll see that retrenchment occur. And keep an eye on that, and you'll see it. And all of a sudden, that'll be a pattern you guys will recognize now when you're trading, if you didn't already see that before. It's pretty consistent. I mean, it happens a lot. I don't know the actual statistical breakdown on that, but it's something to be aware of. I don't always trade it. I don't trade it too often because it gets a little bit undisciplined for me. But it's something you guys can see and be aware of. And depending on the size of the move, you see stocks like GMC or AMC, and you get these huge moves. And all of a sudden, you get the huge moves in the other direction as well. They just typically don't go down as far as where they started. I think GMC was, I don't know what they were doing, but they were having like 150 point days. You guys remember those? So you look at our trade that we set up, the put. Okay, so this, we're going to move this put now to 434. We're at 71 cents. Buyers today. Okay, I'm going to keep an eye on that. I'm getting some bearish indicators here, but again, not enough to, make a change here, or maybe, excuse me, make a trade here. The market, sorry guys, I was reading something. The market has a cadence, right? A rhythm to it. And when you study it long enough, you start to get a feel for it. And so then you build your model around that. But the same goes for stocks too. Like some of you might be trading Apple, or maybe you're trading Tesla, and you kind of get a feel for the way that Tesla moves. And there's all kinds of different models out there, like channeling stocks, and you guys have seen that stuff where certain stocks tend to perform a certain way for a certain period of time. Uh, and I think all of that is valid. And I think what makes me so boring from a trading perspective, personally, I don't, hopefully I'm not boring, but my kids will probably say I am. But um, the reason I think that I've had some consistency in my trading is because I just kind of stay focused on the one that I really know, that I can have a feel for, where my model performs. That's why we do this. And some of you may want to do more, and that's okay. Go do what you feel is right. But if I stay in this lane, we make the trades, they're high probability trades, quite 2 or 3 times a week. And I don't trade every single day. 2 or 3 times a week, we're gonna make some good trades. And Wednesday was the last day we traded, and we had 2 trades. We had an overnight trade, and then we had a trade that day. We made $650, something like that. Today we made 200, so we're at 835, and that's what we've done so far this week. And then last Friday, we had a nice one as well. And if you kind of go back and you look, what are you averaging? We average anywhere from about 300 to 1500 a week. And we've had some big wins, um, $3,000, $4,000 weeks. And then we've had some really quiet weeks. And then there's been a couple where I didn't trade at all. And I hope that's okay with you guys. I hope that's something that is of interest to you. And but if steady trading, consistent trading, where you can kind of learn without too much risk, is something that's right for you, and you guys like this, then I'll keep doing it. And but if it isn't a value, I mean, we can turn it off, and I'll just do our thing. But I know it does get boring, and I kind of feel like I'm almost like I have an obligation to be entertaining, like tell jokes and stuff. It's kind of funny sitting over here knowing you guys are watching this. But I'm just trading for myself, so I'm going to get in when I think it's right to get in, and hopefully you guys are there watching, and that we all make some money on those trades. So I like this little baseline that's starting to form right now. We'll keep an eye on that and see if we get some indication in a know, give us some trend indication or some indication of what direction the market is going to go. Again, a little bit of fatigue, a little kind of pause in the market here. Um, the trend is still up. Relative strength is still moving, pointing in an upward direction. But we're seeing a little bit of basing, and that could be an interesting move after this. Again, I can't tell you direction yet, which way it's going to go. In fact, I don't know that I'll ever be able to tell you that. The model has to tell me that. I wouldn't care to guess at it. It's kind of interesting to watch these bases. So we're running into a resistance here. Let's see what happens if it breaks through. It certainly would be bullish. So my my bullish indicators are just not lining up enough for me to, even though the market's moved up, for me to make that trade or be in on that trade. Um, I actually have several indicators that are actually starting to turn bearish again. They keep reversing. Um, but again, they have to sync up to make a high probability trade opportunity for us. And I'm really looking for confirmation. So I am just changed my put that I loaded up. I changed my put to the 435, which is at $1.10 right now. It's actually moved up since we put it in there at $1. And I believe we're going to see a little bit of a correction. So there's a little resistance right here that it just hit that line that I drew earlier. Now it's moving down. But the problem is on our VWAP, our valuated average price, we don't have far to go before it could correct and bounce back up. So the opportunity for us to really make money is pretty low right now with sort of this reduced, range that we're trading in. So I'm not a huge fan of where the market is right now. I'll give it a minute or two, guys, but I probably will not make a trade this morning. I might come back later at 10 or 11 if I can swing it and see, but I've got to work too. I am a consultant. I help small businesses, and so I've got some work to do today. And so I'm probably gonna log out here. And if you guys are following me on Discord, I'll come back to Discord so you're notified and you'll see if I jump back in and make a trade. But right now I'm gonna probably bow out. We just didn't get what we were looking for today, and that's okay. I don't trade every day. And hopefully you guys are okay with that. The goal is to make money. The goal isn't to risk capital. The goal is to, make money. And so we're going to take high probability trades, and sometimes we're going to miss opportunities, but I'm okay with that. Just I've had too many reversals. So hopefully you guys have had some experiences where things looked good, but then reversed on you, so you understand it. But anyway, this is the way that I trade. If you guys want to continue to follow me, that's great. If you think it's a value, that's great. I'm super stoked with a $200 win that we got overnight on a $250 trade. I thought that was great. So we'll kind of hang out and get back at it. If you're in my email, you guys all got my email. I'll email you again and let you know when I'll be trading based on my work schedule and stuff. I do have an event that I'm going to be attending on Monday. That's kind of an all-day event. So if I get back at this, it'll be early. I might do early Monday, probably Tuesday, early Tuesday. But either case, I'll let you guys know. All right. So I'm going to end up closing out for today. I'll keep my screen up, and I might trade this later. But I'm going to close out of Discord now and stop sharing this. Okay. I'm not going to apologize for not making a trade. Hopefully, some of the things that I was talking about were educational for you, or at least, if nothing else, maybe just another data point. And I appreciate all that you guys have been so positive, and the chats, you guys are awesome. TikTok, you guys were great. And, we'll just continue to have a community here. And to the extent that you want to be a part of it, you're certainly welcome to. Okay, so thanks, guys. I appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.
Hey guys, this Ken here. For those of you that are sticking around, I might take a long position right here. If it touches this green EMA line, and I'm gonna be watching for a potential bounce in this range between 433.97 and 433.82. We'll just see if it touches it though. We do have resistance here. You can see a couple of times it's it went inside this range and immediately sold off. This is where the institutions are selling. So let's just see if it comes on to my limit.
Okay.
Hey, you need to disconnect.
There's the drops. I'm getting filled. I got filled 3 contracts. If it goes any lower, I'm gonna be buying more. I do think we're gonna bounce from here. Um, but if we don't, just cut my losses quick and try to buy near the blue and VWAP range. I'm currently up 7%. Let's just see if we get back into the range and I might sell. I'm just gonna sell for 10% here. I sold for 10%. Let's see if it rejects off here or keeps going. Guys, I'm just gonna go ahead and end the stream. I'm gonna restart it just so I can turn on the chat. And I'll be back in a couple of seconds.